Okay, if you're like me, this time of year you will have come to your stove and realised it needs a bit of attention. So what it needs is some new stove rope. So the stove rope here has started to come loose. The glass is very stained and burnt. And the fire cement has started to come loose. So what I'm going to do is clean out the fire, replace the stove rope, replace the fire cement, and light a fire. So we're going to Sturmat to pick up some stove rope for the stove. If you're from Colwyn Bay or North Wales, you probably know of Sturmat.
We're flying.
We're flying, buddy.
Yes, we're flying.
Are we going to go put the flying gear on?
Flying gear.
Are you ready? I've just turned it down into flying gear. 3, 2, 1.
Whoa!
We're flying! So we just come down to Sturmat. We're a little bit early, 10 minutes early. I didn't realise that they open at 10:30 on a Sunday, but it's worth the wait, believe me. Sturmat is one of the best shops in Colwyn Bay. They carry everything. They may not be the best quality, but it'll help you get the job done for sure.
12 seconds later.
Ha! Wire brush.
A wire brush. Okay, the first thing that I'm going to do is replace the stove door seal. But in order to do that, the best thing you've got to do is start by taking off the stove door. It's quite heavy. Okay, you've got to lay it down somewhere nice and soft. Try not to damage the glass as you put it down. And then what we're going to do now is remove all this old rope. See how easy it comes off. So once you've removed all the old rope, in this groove here, you're going to need to remove all the old glue and all the debris and the soot and the tar and everything that's built up over time. So if you don't remove it all, it's going to really give the glue a hard time to stick. You can use an old screwdriver for this, it usually works best. Now I've taken the rope out, you need to work these grooves to try and get it all out. So the best thing to do is use this old screwdriver, like I've just said, get all the loose stuff out first, and then once all the loose stuff is out, use a wire brush and really give it a good clean up.
A few inches later.
Okay, at this point now, I have wire brushed and removed all the dirt and debris from the groove here where the rope sits. So now's a good time to give the glass a good clean. So here's the top tip of the day. Instead of getting a chemical cleaner or sprays or foams that you can get from the shops, the best thing to do is take a bit of kitchen roll, like this, fold it up, take it over to the sink, put a tiniest little bit of water on it, like that, so it's just damp. Bring it over to the stove, and dab in the ashes. So the ashes work really well because they're a slight abrasive. They're not too abrasive that they're going to scratch the glass, but they're just good enough to take all that tar and carbon off the screen, off the glass. It's almost like hair of the dog. So you work that round, use the ash like a toothpaste almost, just to wipe it all off. And then once you think you've got it all off, you need to get then a clean paper towel with no water on it, with just a dry one, and take off the residue. And then hopefully that should clean the glass up lovely. So the next step is to take the rope and measure it out to your groove and then cut it to size. So follow the groove around with this fresh rope all the way around. And then cut it where you think you need to cut it, and then I'll see you back in a minute. Okay, so if you take some of the ceramic tape provided with your kit, what you need to do next is find out where the end of your rope's going to be, and then overlap the tape just over like this. So then when you come to cut it, you're going to cut the tape so it ends up being a nice and neat cut. So if we put that in there now, so we're going to need to cut about here. So you're cutting the tape and the rope at the same time, so it leaves a nice neat end. So it finishes up nice and neat in there like that. And the next step now is to add a liberal helping of glue all the way around, and then you can put the rope on. So snip the top and start where you're going to start the rope. Get a nice coating all the way around. Don't miss any spots, because if you miss any spots then the rope will not stick. Okay, now we have put the rope in, it's glued down, it's cut to the right size. You shouldn't really leave it now for about a good half an hour before doing anything with it. Even before putting it back on the stove itself, yeah, at least half an hour, so that any loose glue or overspill doesn't touch here. So while that's drying, I'm going to give the rest of the stuff a really good clean out. And then once I've done that, we will get the fire cement on the flue pipe sorted out, so that there's a really good gas tight seal, so that there's no gases coming back into the room. So we've fitted the rope now, all the glue all the way around is just about to start drying. So we're going to leave that now for a good half an hour before attempting to fit it back to the stove.
A few moments later.
I have now cleaned out the stove, hoovered it, made sure that all the odd nails and bits and pieces that have come off the wood have been removed. Checked the riddling grate on the inside to make sure that that's working nicely. The next thing we're going to do now, while that the glue is drying on the stove door, is re-cement the joint here between the register plate and the vitreous enamel flue pipe. So I'm just going to start moving it off here. It should come off quite easily because the rest of it actually fell off. The reason it fell off is because the cement itself is very inflexible, so it doesn't flex at all. Whereas as the stove is on, the metal and the metal register plate will expand and contract every time it heats up and cools down. So you've got expanding and contracting metal against an inflexible cement, so it's obviously going to fall off. So I do this probably once a year. This is the fire cement I'm going to be using. If you don't use it after a long time, or if you don't put the lid back on properly, it can go hard, but luckily this is still quite flexible. This is a really messy job, and it's best to use gloves while you're doing it. So the way I do it, I go around the joint and push it in with my thumb like this, making sure that that cement is all the way in, all the little gaps, because it has to be a gas tight seal. If it's not gas tight, it can hamper the function of the stove and cause a risk of carbon monoxide entering the room, and that's really bad news if that happens. So make sure it's a really good gas tight seal. So here's a top tip. Once you've applied the fire cement, it can look really messy. So the best way to neaten it off is to use a damp sponge and just go around it and just sponge it round until it's smooth. So now I have finished smoothing off the cement with the sponge. A tiling sponge works really well for this. So it will stay a bit putty-like for a while, and it goes off with the heat of the fire. So also it has a different colour. So I find it really difficult to get the black putty, the black fire cement. So this sort of buff coloured one is the best I can find. And in order to make it look a little bit better, once it's gone off, it'll be dry and you can spray it with a little bit of stove paint. It's been about half an hour now, and I think the glue is dry enough so that we can reinstall the door on the stove and do the paper test. I'll show you what that is in just a moment. Now this is really tricky because you have to line up both pins on at exactly the same time so it can fit. So they're both in now, nice and snug. And there we go, that's what the stove door looks like now. And the final thing to do before you can consider the job done is do the paper test. This is to make sure that the gap all the way around, you're touching everywhere. So you take a piece of paper, close the stove door, and if you can't pull it out, it means it's formed a good seal all the way around. I think we can call that job done. Last thing we're going to do is light a little fire so that the fire cement has time to cure. And if you want to see me light a fire, there is another video on my channel, so please take time to check that one out. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please click above to see how to light the perfect fire, and feel free to subscribe for more videos in the future.